This red box is what the Republicans are ignoring. That's the tax breaks for all that money that comes into America because we're a more open economy. William Hoagland, do you know what the deficit's going to be? Is it $2 trillion or $1.5 trillion?
Well, it's certainly going to be at least $1.5 trillion when you add in the interest on the debt that we're accumulating. But this 1.5 or the 1.5 that's advertised is on the assumption that the tax cuts, the number of the tax cuts, and they are expiring. Particularly the rate cuts expire in 2025. The child tax credits expire. Some of the other provisions in the tax law expire in 2025. This was designed to keep them within the budget restrictions of 1.5. If you assume that you're going to continue those tax cuts, you're well into the $2 trillion range in terms of the next 10 years. More importantly, I noticed that you had the 75% up for GDP for Ireland. When you add all this into the existing, we already had an existing growing debt in this country. We're going to be well up into close to 100% of GDP by 2027 under this particular tax bill.
Bill, overall, is this a good tax bill, or could it have been better?
Oh, Francine, I think it's a good question. I think you certainly can always do better. This was a compromise within the Republican ranks. It was not compromised and worked with in terms of Democrats, and therefore it's not bipartisan. And my biggest concern is that when you have legislation as major as tax reform or health care reform, and you do not do it in a way that at least is buy-in from both parties, then this means it's a legislation that will be debated quite some time here, continue to debate it, and will not have the longevity that the 1986 tax law did in terms of going forward. So we started this debate by saying we're going to simplify the tax code. I quite frankly looked through a lot of it last night. It's hardly a simplification of the tax code. And second of all, in terms of the benefits to individuals, I think this one we have to be very careful about. Secretary Mnuchin has said that this will provide a $2,000 average tax cut. That may be true on the average for all the taxpayers out there. But when you look at the distribution tables that the Joint Tax Committee put out yesterday and make some comparisons, you find that varies dramatically. There are some people that will not receive major tax cuts. And in fact, there are some people that will actually see increases in tax cuts. So this is going to be, we're going to have to see how this plays out going forward.